All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected. Apologies for getting a little bit of a late start today. Just many things happening. That's about all I can say. Sometimes it's just very difficult to. Things will get in the way of starting the show on time. But you're here. We're all here. I'm here. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me every day on the Rockfins. It's Friday Fix, which I also forgot to put in the title. But you all know what we do on Fridays. We're kind of get a little bit looser, just kind of hang out. We're live on Rockfin. What's up, Rockfin people? How are you? Oh, got lots of people joining on Rockfin. Maybe the Rockfin app is treating people a little bit nicer. That's good news. Denver is describing the pros of Chattanooga. I think I've been through Chattanooga once or twice, maybe. Oh, we're here. I actually didn't post the show, Max Sarge on YouTube. I didn't post the show until just right now. Yeah. No, it's actually my fault. I thought I was in the middle of posting the show, and I got distracted. And then when I came back to start the show, I realized that I had never even finished posting the show. So, anyways, we got people on. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Callin. People are on Callin. Welcome, people on Callin. How do you do? All right. Callin, people, I'm going to mute you for 1 second. Give me one moment. I guess that's an okay feature of Callin, the mute button. Let me see. The mute button is an okay feature on Callin because sometimes I have to do things on my phone, and then it allows me to do the things on the phone without totally jacking the sound. Give me 1 second, guys, okay? Un momento. All right. Calling people, we will be right back. Just let me do this. Okie doke. All right, we're back on Callin. We have the sound back on Callin. Hello, Callin folks. Thanks for hanging out. All right. Coolio. And I guess one thing I forgot to do here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. All good. Good to go. All right, let's get into this article. Sound good for everybody? You know what's interesting? Or maybe I shouldn't even say anything. I should probably not say anything. Have you all noticed that the crackle thing has stopped? It stopped happening. What's happening now is that my sound gets quieter and louder and quieter and louder. That's what but I don't know. It's weird. The crackle thing has seemed to have gone away. But what I'm hearing now is that my sound goes in and out a little bit. Well, that's a little bit weird. Who knows? Okay, so I want to saw this in the daily cost. I don't actually really read daily much anymore. All right, people are filing into YouTube. Hello? No, I'm not on YouTube, Joe. I don't read the daily cost much anymore because they're kind of sorry to for the pardon the expression, kind of shit libby. They have been for a while. I don't really particularly like to participate in the shit libby stuff. Sound is fantastic. Yes, William, you're noticing the volume go up and down too. Trust me, that is not me. I notice that it gets a little louder and a little quieter and a little louder. But the crackle is gone. We have experienced no crackle for quite some time. And so that makes me think that maybe it was something else on StreamYard's end. Who knows? But this is from the Daily Cost. Climate brief. Population growth is the main driver of increased carbon emissions, study finds. From May 2nd, 2023. Population is the main driver of emissions. Really? And it's interesting. I didn't read the entire article, but I kind of skimmed through this. How they came to this. Study finds that population growth is a main driver of increased carbon emissions. The richest countries emit more carbon dioxide than the rest of the world combined, while population is only growing in the poorest countries. These are two widespread notions that argue for focusing on reducing emissions per capita in order to mitigate climate change. But this is not entirely true in the light of data from the last 30 years. New research published in the journal Sustainability shows a dominant narrative in the climate change debate is that addressing population is not relevant for mitigation. This is because the population is only growing in the poorest countries whose contribution to global carbon emissions is negligible. The reasoning goes, the largest emissions come instead from rich countries where the population no longer grows. This way of reasoning is not correct. Our thorough analysis suggests that climate change mitigation strategies should address population along with per capita consumption and technological innovation. Yeah. How about all those things? All of the things are things, right? This is Gian Giacomo Bravo, professor at Linnaeus University. The basis for his statement is the analysis of 30 years of emissions data for all the world's countries that he and two research colleagues have carried out. By splitting the countries into 4 income groups according to the World Bank standard classification, the researchers were able to confirm that the contribution of low-income countries to emission increase is indeed limited. However, they also found that population is growing in all four income groups. The largest contribution to global carbon emissions comes from the upper middle group. Population growth is the main driver of increased emissions in all income groups except the upper middle one. That's interesting. The successful reduction in per capita emissions that occurred in high income countries was nullified by the parallel increase in population in the same group. Our analysis does not support the widespread belief that increased affluence is the main driver of increased carbon emissions at the global level. It is definitely an important factor, but neglecting population growth leads to skewed and misleading visions of reality. Well, it's also interesting when you say, you know how increased income is supposed to, income and access to education and other things is supposed to drive population down. So it's always an interesting argument about, raising somebody's standard of living being the vehicle by which population decreases. But we're supposed to blame, but emissions all come from higher income, right? So it's a bit of a that's also a bit of a strange argument, right? Because it's people with more income. God, why is that happening? It's people with more income that are driving the emissions. But supposedly that's how we're supposed to get to level out the populations. I don't know. It's a little bit of a wonky arithmetic problem. Anyways, developed nations with stable or declining populations should hence quit fighting these trends and instead embrace them. Just as small population growth in rich countries can drive big emissions increases, a population decrease in rich countries could also have big emission-related benefits going forward. But what are we going, let's go back to the list, the bullet points. Population is growing in all four income groups. So maybe population growth is declining somewhat in a higher income group, but it's still growing. So what they're saying basically is that we should let the population decline in the richer countries, but that's not happening, right? We have Elon Musk and every country in the world saying this is horrible. If population goes down, it's horrible. What are we going to do? This is bad for the economy. Horribly bad for the economy. Elon Musk saying the worst thing that can happen to human civilization is that the population could decrease. Yeah. Well, he understands how economics works, or at least the economics we use, which is growth economics. Population pressure on the climate crisis. The 2020 study found that if the climate crisis isn't addressed, as many as 3 billion people will be living in areas considered too hot for human survival. Well, there you go. Anyways, that's a different article. Anyways, that's very interesting. Why can't I get to this? Darn it. Oh, well. That's true. Andre, population will decrease all by itself. We really, really won't need to do, We won't need to do much on that front, except for continue doing what we're doing, right? I mean, that's pretty much how it's going. Oh, sorry. Call in, people. I'm going to mute you again for a moment. All right. All right, guys. All right. Thanks calling, people, for your patience. I appreciate you. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, that's very interesting, right? Study says that population is. Yeah, but so we're really not gonna. Timothy Martin said it would be nice if the ocean fish could get a break. Do you remember the oh, what was the? It was like a superheroes movie. I can't remember which one it is. I don't really follow the superheroes movie thing, but the one with what was the guy that they had the rings? He had the rings, and he was going to decrease the population of the universe by half. I can't even remember. What's the guy's name? It wasn't Thor. It was something else. Anyways, but in this movie, they acknowledged, Captain America was like, there were like pods of whales in Hudson Bay or in the Hudson River. Thanos. Thank you, Thanos. Thanks, guys. Thanos wanted to, decrease the population of the universe by half in order to alleviate the strain of the population on the universe, right? So, anyways, but they acknowledged, they're like, oh, but the Earth. And do you remember during the COVID lockdown when there are all these articles about how nature was rebounding because humans weren't out all over the place, absolutely stomping all over the planet? Right? Because humans were somewhat contained for a moment. The planet had a chance to rebound. Anyways, this is an interesting concept. The idea, the concept that the less we're doing or the less there are of us, the more that nature might be somewhat happy about that. I know. People hate hearing this kind of stuff. It sounds anti-human. And I've even heard people say stuff like, "Well, if you're into the you're into the environment. You want to save the environment, and you love the environment. You're one of those anti-human people. I'm like, no, actually, actually, no. If you're pro nature, if you're pro a healthy habitat, you might be more pro human than anyone else. And that's exactly what I believe. And I think that's what most, I mean, I know a lot of people on this planet don't have a high regard for humans. And there's actually, I look like Thanos? Stop it. There's actually, because I'm green, because I'm wearing green. I mean, there's good reason to be skeptical about, the what's the word I'm looking for? The greatness of humans, I guess. The superiority of humans. There's good reason to be skeptical about that, and I'm somewhat skeptical about it. But I'm just saying, honestly, if you were realistically pro-human, then you would be pro a livable habitat for humans. You'd be pro a healthy earth. If you are pro destroying everything on the planet and polluting everything on the planet for profit, regardless of the impacts of your actions on the planet, that would be anti-human, right? If you were I don't know, you wouldn't if you enjoyed living in a somewhat tidy space, right? In a healthy space, let's say, not tidy, but if you wanted to live in like a healthy space, like your house was a healthy place to live in, well, then you wouldn't destroy a room over here in order to, you wouldn't like chop up all the wood out of your floors in order to build a fire in the living room because, we chopped out all the wood out of the floor. It's comfortable in here. The fire, we're warm. We're warm in the living room. We have a fire, and we chopped up all the wood out of the bedroom. But somebody might come in and go, well, you chopped the wood out of the floors in the bedroom. Now nobody can go in there, and there's a draft also because the cold air is coming up through the floors. So that didn't make any sense to destroy this other room over here, right? You want to keep the house intact. You want to keep the house in a livable way. I don't know. I don't know if that was a good analogy or not. Maybe it was bad, but you know what I mean. Yeah, roughly emoji. It's like burning your house down to heat yourself. Basically, that's basically what we are doing to the planet, right? Or if you threw away all of your, garbage, in one room, all your waste in one room, well, the rest of the house is very clean, right? But eventually the overall health of your house would suffer because all the garbage, the effects of the garbage piling up in one room would be really bad. Anyways. But the other interesting thing about it is that the overpopulation discussion can't be had on either the left or the right, and that tells you how real that problem is, right? That is an actual problem. It's a problem they don't want you to talk about because it's taboo on the left and the right. I mean, I guess cities of yore were good examples of humans fouling their own nest until they figured out a way to, somehow take the filth, right? It used to be that we weren't as good as we were now about, putting our garbage outside of the cities, right? Or our excrement outside of the cities, right? We didn't have like waste treatment plants. We didn't have sewers and indoor plumbing and all that kind of stuff, right? So people got sick. People lived in unhealthy conditions a few hundred years ago because we didn't have the modern conveniences of technology. But all we did was learn how to take, that garbage, that filth from over here and put it over here. To externalize that problem somehow. And we've developed other problems. Anyways. I have not read that book, Overshoot. Anyways, what's the upshoot or the overshoot of all this? What's the upshot of all this? If you can, really try to simplify your life. It would be better for the planet. It'll be better for you in the long run, because if you don't require all the things that everybody else requires to stay alive or be comfortable, in the long run, you will be in a better position to weather the coming storms, the coming, I don't know, to weather the coming disturbances, collapse scenarios, dystopian future, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. All right. So let's keep going. I know we started late and it's already getting late in the show. The end of the world party. I guess we went from we can still avoid 1.5C to, but does it matter? Right. Sean Kelly asked me, am I religious? Not really. I'm not religious. However, I think that there is wisdom in religion. There are things we can learn from any religion or philosophy. Some people call Buddhism a philosophy and not a religion, but whatever you want to call it. But I think there are some extremely wise things that, Jesus supposedly said, or I'm not familiar with Muhammad, but I'm sure that things Muhammad said. More familiar with things that Buddha might have said, and all those. There's wisdom to be gained from all of those teachings and all of those tomes. And I think, it's not a bad idea to take those things in, take the things that are that are useful to you, and leave the rest out. Yeah. Scott Andrews says you can be spiritual and still not be religious. I mean, I guess I'm somewhat spiritual, somewhat a little bit. I don't know. I'm just I try to kind of exist in a space, where I my religion is my own experience of the world, my own feelings about the world, and I try to really, my North Star is my internal feelings about what is good and what is bad, like my instincts, I guess. I try to listen to myself and what I really try to decipher what I think is true or not true, and I let my internal wisdom be my guide, and that's, I don't know if that's spiritual or not. Rich Diana, thank you for the Thank you for the super chat. He said, Kevin, I've been trying to have the overpopulation conversation since the 1970s. Crickets. Yeah, I mean, people don't really want to hear it. They don't want to have They don't want to have it. Anyways, back to this post. He's responding to somebody says, does it matter if the world breaches 1.5C for a single year? And someone else says, we've been backing off from the scientific consensus that 1.5 is a disaster threshold for a good year now, considering it was inevitably going to happen soon. Well, didn't also the guardrail at one point was 1C. The guardrail was 1C at one time. Back in the day when James Hansen was like saying, we're going to have a problem. And one C of warming is going to be a problem. And then the IPCC got together and they were like, you know what? We should really, we should stay below 2C, but let's try and make 1.5C the guardrail, right? There's no guardrails. There's no guardrails in life. There's no guardrails on the planet. Not in the sense that we're going to avoid catastrophe. There's no guardrail. All right. And we're going to hit 1.5C, and you can already witness with your own eyes what's happening to the planet at, supposedly almost 1.5C. What's up, Rockfinners? How you feeling? Everybody good? Blushwood berry extract can cure cancer or killing tumors. Interesting. I mean, there's been several cancer cures which have been what was it? There was a guy that in the 70s that was it discovered that peptides, I think it was peptides, could cure cancer. And then they did all the things to him. They stripped him of his medical license. They took him to court. They hung him up. They tried to discredit him. They tried to make him into a crazy person. And he fought back and fought back. And apparently they're starting to use his cure. They're starting to trial it out now. But that's interesting. Drug derived from the fruit of the blushwood tree kills cancerous tumors long-term in animals in 70% of cases. Huh. Wow. That's amazing, but has anybody heard of this being used or trialed out? Has anybody used the blushwood berry drug? EBC 46. Very interesting. Thanks for the link. I mean, we could cure ourselves of many things if we stopped poisoning ourselves. All right. Looking at this other link. Oh yeah, I heard about this one too. Thanks, Denver. Denver usually drops some pretty good links in the Rockfin chat. But I heard about this. This is from today. New Senate bill would create federal agency to police Americans for misinformation and hate speech. But didn't they try that already with the what was her name, Nina Jankowicz? Didn't they try like a to make some like Office of Disinformation or something? And it failed pretty miserably. Federal agency to police American speech, misinformation, and hate speech. Basically, anything that anything that's true would be hate speech. Saying that something about 9/11 or saying something about COVID or saying something about vaccines, all that hate speech, right? Immediately. Saying something about overpopulation could be hate speech. The new Federal Digital Platform Commission would have the mandate, jurisdiction, and broad set of tools to develop and enforce thoughtful guardrails for a sector that had been left for too long to write its own rules. You mean people can speak freely and say whatever they want? Is writing your own rules? No, I think that's called free speech, with serious consequences for everything from teen mental health to disinformation to anti-competitive practices that have hurt small businesses. Oh, safety, safety, safety. We got to be kept safe. Thanks, Senator. Wow. The new Federal Digital Platform Commission would have five commissioners appointed by the president and confirmed by the U.S. Senate. It would be staffed by experts with a background in areas such as computer science, software development, and technology. It doesn't really matter what their background is. Will they enforce the speech that they are told to enforce? That's all that matters. Anyways, the Digital Platform Commission Act has garnered support from various experts and organizations. Former Federal Communications Commissioner Chairman Tom Wheeler commends the bill for modernizing national policies and introducing an agile regulatory model suitable for the digital age. Okay. What did RFK Jr. say? He slipped in something really good in the interview with Crystal Ball the other day. He slipped in something great. He said, "We have the internet. He said, "We have the internet, which is supposed to empower humanity, but is often used as a form of totalitarian control, or more often these days used as a form of totalitarian control." The internet is a great place to be. The internet is empowering, absolutely empowering to people, human beings, and Watch out for that misinformation or something. But right, and their attempts to control people evolving and people becoming aware of the evil things that they are doing. The government, the military-industrial complex, people in charge, the people pulling the puppet strings behind the scenes, because they are aware that people are becoming aware of what they're doing. All of a sudden, man, this misinformation is out of control, right? That's why Google switched from a search engine to a hide engine. It used to be a search engine where you could find all kinds of information, but now it's a hide engine because you could get hurt from that. All the information could hurt you. No, it could help you, and that's exactly the problem. What? Humanity could evolve, could learn some things, people could wake up, people could attain higher states of knowledge and consciousness. We absolutely can't have this. It's like reading, right? Back in the day, you didn't want slaves, or you didn't want lower class people to read, because if they read, well, they might start wising up to what is being done to them. So they kept people from learning how to read, right? And now it's like, well, wow, this internet thing is more of a problem than we thought, because people are actually kind of starting to wake up. Problem is, Denver, I love these links you're sending me about this cure for cancer. The problem is that, are they really going to give this to people? Are people actually going to get this cure? All right. Let's move on. Where are we at? Well, lots of flooding going on. Flooding in Ethiopia, already hit by 3 years of drought. Tens of thousands of hectares of farmland destroyed and tens of thousands of livestock killed in just one region. A 1 in 10,000 year flooding event in Sierra Leone over the last 24 hours. 80 millimeters per day is twice the value for the 99 percentile. More rain is in the forecast today. They don't have helicopters to rescue them. This is anything but natural. Saw someone on Twitter today saying, the same guy I was kind of arguing with a little bit yesterday, but definitive proof that it's a hoax, climate change. I was like, all right, dude. You cracked the case. You, dude on Twitter. One guy on Twitter absolutely brought down the climate change conspiracy. Okay. Just one guy. One graph. It was one guy with one graph. It was just one graph. That's all it took. That's it. And it was a weird argument too. It was something like the graph showed that temperature kept rising. Maybe I could find it. It was weird. And he's like, well, it only rises in El Nino. And then between then, nothing happens. I don't know. It was like, okay, so global warming is just a product of overhyping El Nino. But wait, what happened in the La Nina year? This guy doesn't even know how to track La Nina and El Nino, because we've been breaking temperature records for the last, 2 or 3 years, however long we've been in a La Nina. It's been a little while, right? Has it been 3 years? Yeah, we've been breaking records. It's been getting hotter during a La Nina, which actually is why people who are aware of what's going on with climate change are very concerned, because they're like, hey, we're supposed to be in a cooling period and it's getting warmer. And what happens in the next El Nino when it gets even warmer? Yeah. I don't know if I can find it though. Yeah. Hmm. Maybe it's here. Oh, the climate hoax debunked. Recent warming has occurred stepwise. So he's saying recent warming. Okay. El Ninos have driven all the steps, not emissions. In between El Ninos, there's no warming despite lots of emissions. Learn it, know it, live it. The next El Nino looms? What? I don't know. This guy is an expert at like cherry picking stuff. Here's his. That's it. Debunked. Okay. But aren't you admitting that there's warming? Are you admitting that there's warming? He's saying the warming is happening stepwise. I mean, he's I mean, I don't know. It was weird. It's like what they really specialize in is sounding scientific, right? Saying like sciencey things, and people are like, "Yeah, oh, what's that?" Right? People that were like totally not aware of what's going on or climate science or what's happening or El Ninos or La Nina or what do they do and what it means, right? People are, kind of just not really, they don't have all the information. He's relying on those people not being informed enough in order to, they say kind of sciencey things and people go, "Oh yeah, looks good." Like, all right, dude. So you just admitted that there's warming. This is a silly, I don't know. I probably need to say something else to this guy because this doesn't look good for your argument that it's a hoax. I mean, you're not arguing that it isn't warming, right? I mean, there is warming here, right? You said warming has happened stepwise, meaning you're saying that there is warming. So how did you debunk global warming when you admitted that it's warming? I just explained that one to me there. Smart guy. His handle is Junk Science. Like, dude. Somebody tells you who they are, you should believe them. That is just really weird. You said it's a hoax, and then you admitted there's warming. Noom Chompy says, so what's trapping the heat? CO2? Right. I mean, we're not going down. According to this graph, he's saying we keep on warming. All right. Okay. I'll save this for later. I mean, that's the thing is they are the I don't even know. I don't want to really even call it a denier standpoint, but it's like a confuser. I'll call it like climate change confuser. Like that's what they're trying to do is confuse people about what's going on. And one of the things that they do is admit that there's warming, but it's not a big deal, or it's because of this, or it's the sun, or something else, right? It's not totally not global warming caused by man. It's something else, right? No, I don't know what climate obfuscation. There you go, Tim. Yeah, something like that. But I don't know. You could ask a simple question like, well, CO2 is rising and temperatures seem to be going up with CO2. Explain that one. I don't know. But I mean, there's a lot of explanations for that one too. Oh, CO2 follows temperature, not temperature following CO2. It was a lot of CO2 in the past. Sure. Sure. And the temperature in CO2 went up, for various reasons in the past, or were up. We've gone through a lot of. Earth itself has evolved. The life on Earth has evolved, and lots of things have happened from the deep past to now. But it's important to look at, the recent past as far as like how it is, what is the Earth that we are accustomed to living on, and how is it that we are affecting Earth? In what ways could it be detrimental or negative? I love the existential conversation going on in the chat. It's pretty good on YouTube. That's pretty good. Yes, Denver. He's debunking warming by saying it's warming. But now the culprit is El Nino. It's just, well, of course it's just El Nino, or it could be the sun, could be something else today, different tomorrow. I don't know. What? Okay, hold on. I know it's a little bit. It's Friday, so we're kind of keep it a little bit loose. Today's is the days to keep it loose. And if you're in the chats, let's keep it loose in the chats, right? We're being kind of loose in the chats, but let's keep it loose. Hopefully nobody's having any issues there. We're just talking. That's the awesome idea. The awesome thing about ideas, right? I mean, sure, you can manifest some ideas into some real action, but it's totally okay and very much encouraged to just have some ideas, think about some things, think things through, right? Ideas really, really never hurt anybody, They are until they're acted upon, they don't really hurt people. So it's it's okay to go for ideas, go with ideas, think about them, think them through. It's really good to think them all the way through before you act. Like that's the point. That's the part that people, like ideas don't really hurt anybody. And if you're thinking about acting on an idea, I would encourage you to just think about it a lot more and then act. It's okay. All right. But guys, it's all in good fun, right? Okay. What is this thing? Denver sent me something that says eat, poop, and live. We'll end with eat, poop, and live. All right. Is that okay? Though it might sound very unappetizing, many animals eat their own feces. This is true. My dog eats her own feces. I know that's really gross, probably, to think about or to talk about. And other animals actually eat my dog's poop. Sorry. Sorry if that's graphic or weird for you to hear, but it's true. They find something nourishing in it. Rabbits do it to help them break down grasses, which are difficult to digest. Unlike cows and their relatives that chew a regurgitated cud of grass, rabbits have to take a longer path. Anyways, people have also sometimes taken to this behavior as well. For millennia, the Chinese used dried human feces to treat abdominal diseases, believing that it had medicinal properties. In the recent years, this form of traditional medicine resurfaced as a poo tea craze, where a slurry of warm pig and goat poop is ingested as a folk remedy for ailments ranging from skin problems to cancer. If goat or sheep poop is beneficial, then wouldn't an exotic animal be even more powerful? That was the logic of wildlife biologists who began selling panda poo tea, which fetches prices of more than $30,000 per pound. He reasoned that since pandas are poor digesters of bamboo and have left many nutrients, including large amounts of fiber, behind, it should be healthy. There is another strange case of humans ingesting the feces of other animals for their health, though. When the Nazi army invaded North Africa in 1941, the German tank drivers thought it was good luck to run over piles of camel dung. The Allies started to make fake camel dung piles and connect them to explosives that would detonate when they would run over. When run over by any luck-seeking tank driver, the deceit was so well planned that the Allies even put tire track marks in their fake dung piles to trick the tank drivers into plowing over them. But camel dung in its true form would hold a life-saving secret. Soldiers were suffering greatly from dysentery, and the Nazi medical corps was brought in to attempt to alleviate the outbreaks. Early on, the local nomads were thought to hold a key to the solution because they rarely suffered from dysentery. In fact, when an outbreak of dysentery occurred, even when slight diarrhea was experienced, the nomads would diligently follow their camels around. When a camel defecated, the nomad would quickly scoop up the dung and ingest some whilst it was still steaming. Okay, guys, sorry if this is putting you off. After close scrutiny of the dung, the Corps discovered that the dung was loaded with bacterium, Bacillus subtilis. Species is the same genus as a terribly pathogenic species, Bacillus anthracis, which causes anthrax. Subtilis, however, has since become one of the bacterial species considered good for humans. In recent years, a new incentive, I guess it cured dysentery. By ingesting the camel dung, the nomads were essentially altering their gut ecology to get rid of the pathogen called dysentery. And the Nazi medical corps even developed a way to dry out the subtilis to put it into powder form for the troops. Since the Nazi experience with camel dung, subtilis has been used in much the same way as an anti-dysenteric agent. Wow, interesting. Recent years, a new incentive and method of ingesting feces has resurfaced and has been heralded as a medical breakthrough: fecal microbiota transplants. If you are diagnosed with a gut infection caused by a Clostridium difficile colitis, or more commonly known as C. diff, your doctor will more likely immediately treat you with antibiotics. This is because C. diff will cause extreme diarrhea, fever, and abdominal cramping that could lead to death. The problem is that many C. diff infections treated with antibiotics are not eliminated because the C. diff rapidly recover because of antibiotic resistance. In 2013, researchers tried a radical approach to treating individuals with C. diff infections by transplanting fecal matter from healthy individuals into the guts of individuals with C. diff infections. Researchers were able to eliminate the C. diff infection about 80% of the time. There are two routes to get the poop delivered to the gut. More recently, through the oral route has been the preferred route. Eating poop, it turns out, can be a healthy activity. We should note, however, so far, C. diff is the only infection that fecal transfer efficiently treats. Okay, so now you know. Now you know, guys. Interesting. Denver, thanks. Sorry, didn't mean to do that. Very interesting article. Thanks for the link. Let's see. It's a real thing for the microbiome. Understand the bacteria between our cells, organs, etc., is responsible for much of your immune system function. Your microbiome feeds this necessary bacteria used in waste disposal. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't know about the poop part, but I was talking to my daughter about this where it's good to be, we were talking about natural immunity. And you're supposed to let kids go outside and roll around in the dirt, get out and play and get dirty and get in, come in contact with things. Because if your kids sit inside the house all day, they're not being exposed to all kinds of, different bacteria and things that can hurt them later, right? If they weren't exposed to them when they were young, right? It strengthens your immune system to be exposed to these things. Same with diseases, right? Not all the time, but many times. It's good to be exposed to certain diseases because it keeps you from getting a worse infection later in your life, right? Or you can get it and get it out of the way and build your natural immunity by coming into contact with it. And that's a thing. That's part of life. Anyways, that about does it for me. You guys, you having a good time with the fecal transplants? Okay. Tim says, too bad all the bulldozer parents keep their kids on a leash. Well, yeah. Yeah, keeping your kids inside all day. Eating GMO food and playing video games, probably not good for their health. It's probably you got to let kids get out there, play with other kids, roll around in the dirt, roll down some hills, sometimes get scratched, sometimes get hurt. It's good for all kinds of things, right? It's even falling down and getting hurt is good for acquiring your gyroscope in life, right? Or acquiring your boundaries. Like, oh, I realize I shouldn't do that thing. I should be careful when I'm doing this, right? Those are, every mistake, every injury is a lesson. You can't keep if you keep your kids from learning those lessons of life, you're injuring them later, right? Because they won't develop those senses of boundary, right? These things are good. And when you're a kid, right? Kids are very what's the word? I mean, they tend to bounce off pavement, right? The kids are indestructible in some ways, right? You can fall down, you can hit things as a kid and not get as injured as when you do when you're an adult. So that's a good time to learn all those spatial boundaries is when you're a kid. If you learn those things later in life, you won't have you don't have the physical resilience that small children do. Anyways. Exactly. Poppy Davis. The immune system has to develop by getting sick. All right. Guys, thank you so much for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. I appreciate you hanging out with me today and every day. I'll be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, as I am every day. And you all know how you can support the show. The links are in the description box. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you.